KBBBL Podcast. Where the extra B is for BYOBB.
Where's my elephant?
Hello and welcome to KBBBL Podcast, where the extra B is for BYOBB. What's that extra B for?
That extra B is for bargain.
This podcast is free. You don't get a better bargain than that.
That's a pretty good bargain.
That's a great bargain. Aha.
I mean, it remains to be seen whether we're worth paying for, but I like to think that for free, you're getting some value.
I would be pretty disappointed if we were not worth free. That's pretty bad.
We're worth free. It's our Christmas special.
It was surprisingly difficult to find a suitable hat.
Yeah, I didn't bring it. I'm not festive enough. Too dark and dreary.
Well, much like The Simpsons itself, we're starting with the Christmas special. So, KBBL, we are the podcast where we will review, in chronological order, episodes of The Simpsons until we feel like it's not funny anymore. So, we've got, I think, at least 10 to 13 seasons in us. I guess we'll see how it goes. Well, we'll see. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know where the cutoff is.
Yeah, there's...
We can jump around, maybe. We can maybe have, like, a honorable mentions post-season 12 or 11. Or...
yeah, maybe. It's like, look,
there are a couple good ones.
Like 30 more seasons, but here's the few episodes you should watch. I am your host, Davan Skelhorn, and with me is Davan's little helpers, a couple of tattooed freaks.
That is true.
How are you guys feeling tonight?
Festive. Very festive.
Well, good.
I'm feeling great.
Nothing is more important to me than the health of my freaks. Okay.
Hold on. We're jumping ahead in the chronology here.
Sending you to a vet.
Well, look, I worry about you guys and all your subdermal ink. So
it's true.
No, but I'm your host, Davan Skelhorn, and with me is Alex Baker and Matthew Francis, and we'll be your hosts for the length of this podcast. We'll bring in guests, especially if one of us can't make it. Showing off the tattoos. Well, we didn't make it last week. We were going to start last week, but yeah, we're going to throw Baker under the bus here.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I have a segment for this bus throwing. Hold on a second.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I have a segment for everything. This segment I call Under the Turnip Tree.
Ooh, the turnip tree. See, this is all going to be as well.
With a cool glass of turnip juice.
This is where we gather before every episode and we discuss our lives, what's been happening, because we're going to do this once a week. But, a lot can happen in 7 days. So, Baker.
You want me to take it away?
What did you do last week?
Okay. Well,
we were going to premiere last week.
Our grand premiere last week. Some fans that are watching or are catching up may be aware that we had a schedule for last week to begin this podcast. I maybe overestimated my own fortitude a little bit. It's actually, I think it's pretty appropriate. I got a tattoo last week, a pretty big tattoo. We were joking about how me and Francis both are freaks, as Davan so kindly called us, because we have tattoos. But I don't know. I think they're cool. And so does a certain popular spiky-haired boy, which we will get into in a moment. But anyway, I might as well very briefly show the tattoo.
It is extreme, actually.
Let's do it.
It's nuts.
This isn't like an unboxing video now.
Yeah,
we're unboxing Baker.
That's insane.
That's crazy, Baker.
I don't know. See, it's hard to
How many hours is that under the gun?
That's outrageous.
So I thought, hey, 4-hour back tattoo,
dragon?
No problem. I'll be fine. I was not fine. I was like comatose.
It was not fine.
Immediately afterward, I keeled over when I got home.
Baker was in a tattoo coma, so we couldn't go.
Yes.
So tell me, Baker. So I see like the line work's done and a degree of shading. Was the intent to go full and then you just had to like tap out where you're like, yo, I can't take it anymore, or like?
No, I sat really well. I actually the last hour was passing out because I was so tired, like physically, or not passing out, but I felt tired enough that I started like kind of dozing. But I didn't. It wasn't tapping out. It's just a big tattoo. So we're starting with the line work. It was 4 hours to do all those lines, and then I'm going back in December 6th, which is not a Friday, so I should be good for our podcast. And then yeah, December 6th we're gonna continue. We're gonna do the shading next, and then probably 2 sessions for the shading, and then another for the back, like color part of it.
See, that's extreme. So like I got most of my tattoos like over a decade ago, and at that time there was there was only like 4 tattoo shops in the city, and one or two of them had like bad reputation. So there's really only a couple ones you could go to. And the artists, like, like I like my tattoos, but just like the quality of work you can get now is so far beyond like what was available when I was still getting tattoos. Like to see that, I'm just like, it like puts me like to shame, honestly. Like I don't want to show anyone.
Ah, man, I wouldn't go that far. I think your tattoos look pretty cool. But thank
He's
you
got
very
some good
much.
stuff.
Yeah, they're not.
There's a
You've
lot
done a
of
couple
talented
cover-ups, haven't
artists.
you?
No, I haven't done any
Oh, no
cover-ups.
cover-ups?
And I mean, I don't want that to to badmouth any of the artists I went to. They were excellent, you know what I mean? But now just like the variety and the caliber is just like way above where it was a decade ago, for sure.
For sure. There's a lot of talented artists in the city. If anyone listening to this podcast is in the HRM area, there's too many to count. The guy who did my back, though, his name is King Len. You can find him on Instagram. He's very talented. But yeah, Bart, he's a 10-year-old boy. My goodness, or I guess he's a 21-year-old man, according to his own, what he tells the tattoo artist.
Oh, yes.
How did he survive?
Get in the chair.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. So, Baker, you and I came up with the idea for this podcast on the way to the slate quarry one day.
We did, yes.
So, Francis, why did you agree to do this podcast with Baker and I?
Because I think classic Simpsons, probably, I mean, you're talking season 10 and earlier, and like there's still some good stuff, and like some of the seasons after that is probably one of the funniest shows ever to exist. Now, I'll admit some of that's going to be biased because I grew up watching it. But even now, you know what I mean? Like you watch shows and they wear off over time. I can still watch.
Simpsons doesn't.
No, it doesn't. You come
wear
back and you can start season 6 or something like that and watch it through, and it's still, every line, but they're still just as funny. They hit as hard. Sometimes they hit more. Like, you know what I mean? Like as a young man, probably, when I was in my teen years was when it was really, really popular. You'd have it. It was on like 3 times a day. There was like, I remember.
Oh yeah, CBC played it.
Yeah, CBC played it.
Fox
Then
played
Fox had 2 in a row, 7:30, and sometimes you could catch like a 9 o'clock on another channel, and you'd watch all of those. But like, you didn't get the same appreciation. Like becoming an adult and like appreciating things like how fucking like haggard guys like Mo and Krusty are.
Oh yeah,
It just like didn't have the impact on you as like a kid.
Or
You know what I
Otto.
mean?
How much of a fuck up Otto is.
And like the timely political references and stuff that went over your head as a teenager.
Oh,
like
so much.
There's so much depth to it even now. And I just honestly like half the time me and Davan hang out for drinking beers, it deteriorates into Simpsons quotes.
Same with me and Baker.
Yeah,
that's why I chose you two.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
that the three of us would get along quite well.
If you want to sit around and talk Simpsons.
Oh man, yeah, we might as well do it on camera because we're gonna do it anyway. But
yeah, it's such a magical show. I could talk about it all day. I'm 100% with you, Francis. I think the whole first 10 seasons is some of the best television ever.
Superfan Sam makes a good point here. I feel like that The Simpsons was everyone's introduction to adult comedy, and I think that is probably the case, at least in our generation. Sam's a little younger than us, actually. For our generation, 100% it was. Like, I remember people wouldn't let their kids watch it. Like, there were, half of your elementary school classes, like, the kids would be like, they weren't allowed to watch it now. I had a TV.
I'm a little younger than you guys. I was one of those kids. I was born in 91. So I was, I had to catch up on some of the early episodes.
He's a young man.
And I want to add to what you're saying as well, Francis, because of my young age, I also learned a lot through The Simpsons, a lot of cultural osmosis. I was introduced to references, television, movies, history, politics, cultural references so many things through The Simpsons first, and then after the fact, I would be like, oh, that's what that was a reference to. As a kid, I would just be like, oh, that was funny. But then as an adult, I can appreciate it on a whole other level. It's amazing.
Yeah, like you can learn about prohibition to like, their, disco. They have so many historical references.
Goldfish
And
shoes.
like,
I had no idea.
Yeah, and even the parodies on really popular like film and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You'd be like, okay, yeah, this scene's kind of whatever, and then like you become an adult or like a older adolescent, and like, oh, hey, I'm just watching like old popular movies that are kind of like before my time, and you're like, oh my god, The Simpsons totally ripped that scene, and we're just making fun of it, right? No, it really transcends. There was a very brief moment in my youth where I remember not being allowed to watch it, but like I was pretty young, so I remember my sister and I like growing up on it for sure.
oh yeah, I was never forbidden. I watched The Simpsons.
I was
It was life changing. But like,
I don't think I was forbidden very
my
long.
sorry, Baker, 1 second.
You
My
go.
thesis
You
for
go.
this
You're the
whole
host.
podcast is my theory is the first 10 or whatever, how far we ever get into this podcast, seasons of The Simpsons, may be peak comedy. That's my thesis here. Because, like, I don't know much comedy or any that I can think of that holds up as well as these seasons of The Simpsons. Like, it never stops being less funny. The first time you hear a great Simpsons episode, or see it, I should say, is no less enjoyable than the 50th time.
If anything, I find it become more.
They become more.
So on that, I'll say, there are some series you watch, especially now. There's so much like excellent programming out now with the streaming and like not having like the bound by like the rules of the networks and everything. But a lot of it is like it might be funnier or get you more laughs per minute initially, but the staying power isn't there. Like there's episodes I watch now that I like better than 20 years ago when you're watching them as a teenager. You know what I
Probably
mean?
all of
Like
them,
they're
because there's
funnier
so many
now.
references you didn't understand
Yeah.
as a kid.
Yeah.
And
Plus,
things
they
like
keep
that.
predicting the future, so there's that element.
They
as
do.
well.
They do.
I
Now,
will say, I agree with you guys. There is
Yep.
some subjectivity based on our ages, and I agree with what you were saying earlier, Francis, that maybe there's a bit of nostalgia goggles, but I still think
Baker's a young man. He's a young man.
I'm
Francis and I are
old.
old. We're
Yeah.
pushing
I have a
40.
wise man's soul. Trust me.
He
I think
does.
pound for pound, if we're measuring shows, you could maybe put a few other shows in the same category as The Simpsons, but I agree that Simpsons is in the top tier of quality comedy television.
It's
I
gotta be-
personally,
I mean, yeah,
think
there's
it's the
Monty
funniest show
Python.
I've seen.
Like,
Yeah, like that's a good example of a show. I could see somebody making that argument that they prefer it, and
Yeah.
they'd be wrong, but I could
they'd be
respect
wrong.
them.
Yeah, but if
The
you want to
Simpsons
talk
is the best
historically,
ever.
like prime time sitcom, that 5 to 7 p.m. comedy, it's got to be on like no matter who you are, it's got to be in your top 3 or your top 5. You
Oh,
can't deny it, right?
It's the best sitcom of all time, and it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, it's easily the best sitcom, I think, because most sitcoms
Yeah,
are
if we're
very
talking
bad.
about cartoon sitcoms, there are definitely a lot of sitcoms that are beloved by a lot of people. Seinfeld,
Yeah, certainly
I
Oh, I love Seinfeld.
I like Seinfeld. I think Simpsons is funnier than Seinfeld.
Me too.
I also enjoy It's Always Sunny as a newer. I don't know if we'd call that a sitcom.
Yeah, it's a
Cheers,
sitcom,
a lot of
100%.
people
It's
like
a
It is
Cheers.
sort of like, is that where you place them though? Because so many of these new comedies, they've come out on streaming services, really. So like they don't have that. Hey, dinner's done. It's at 5 to 7 or 8 p.m. after dinner prime time kind of lineup, and like every station had their name for that block of like primetime television. Do we still consider those sitcoms because they don't get to be a part of that, or was
Yes.
sitcom strictly like a
No,
90s through to like 2010 kind of thing and then died, right?
no, sitcoms or anything that are a situational comedy. So, like, Always Sunny is a sitcom because the situation is they all hang out in this bar and they're all friends, and like that's the
Yeah,
situation.
that makes sense. Yeah,
But
Like us without
See
the
what you-
bar. Although you
but the
guys
thing
are
about you know what? I forgot that. We're going right. Good. I'm glad you said that, Baker. I forgot
Look at
the
me,
whole
on
thing.
point.
So,
you also
Baker, did you BYOBB?
You mean bring my own body? I did.
Oh,
Body
Perfect.
back?
yeah.
Yeah.
As
You
horrible-
last
you
week I
bring
didn't
your
have my
own
body.
body bag. because we
But
may
what
die.
do you mean by BYOBB?
Well, I brought my own beer. What about you, Francis?
Oh, beer. Oh.
I mean, the extra B was for bargain, but that first B was for beer. So
Beer's
I'll
pretty
promote a
good.
beer. We're going to promote beers on this show because you know what? We love beer. At least Francis and I. Baker, we're going to warm him up to beer. Part of this show is showing Baker the true way of beer.
I don't know. I got to study for the SATs.
But my beer
I'll
of
work on my
choice.
Barney.
That wasn't bad.
That wasn't bad.
Hey, thank you.
Son,
And I do believe that is what happened to Barney.
I'm a son. Like,
That's-
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We'll
You
see
got-
how
you got
much
the
of that
basic.
influence
got-
you guys are me on.
My beer of this evening of choice is the Frig Off from Nine Locks, just down the hill from Baker here.
Yeah,
but
true.
I was unloading Christmas trees even closer to Nine Locks than Baker today. So I stopped by and I got a Frig Off. There's a nice Nova Scotia lighthouse, you know, very nice. It's a noozle on the
We
end
are
of the
known for
goose.
our lighthouses.
Yeah, we do have those. We have a whole route. There's a route you can follow and see all the lighthouses. It's called the Lighthouse Route.
I guess we didn't properly say that yet, but we are from Nova Scotia. We're all located
We're a
in
Nova Scotian podcast. Yep.
Yeah. So there's going to
We
be a lot
love
of
the
great
Simpsons in Nova Scotia.
It's
Canada
the best of
jokes.
all the Scotias, I think.
I think it's the best Scotia. I mean, Scotland may disagree.
It's the newest.
But,
Yeah, fuck them.
We're newer, we're fresher, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We got a cool Latin name. Latin names are pretty badass.
Latin names are cool. And how many countries have Latin names? Not many.
Yeah, it's a good point.
You know what?
I mean,
I love that actually. That like they actually had that kind of thought. They're like, why don't we just give this province a Latin name? That's genius. That doesn't happen.
Well, and also
will
not
say-
being rightly taken, the French and the English were fighting over this for fucking ever. So
Oh, yeah.
because it's such a rad Scotia that they killed each other in China. I'm just trying
One
to-
of my
Do you
ancestors
guys remember
used
what
to
the
come
French
from
name for Nova Scotia was? Was it just
What?
Acadia? Was
Yeah,
the
it
French
was
name
Acadia.
Yeah.
And then no, it used to be called New Francia.
Ah, see, we're getting a bit of history on our podcast as
It was
well.
New Francia, and then
Unfortunately,
first it
Nova
was
Scotia,
Mi'kma'ki.
in the
It was
Simpsons Hall
Mi'kma'ki
of
first
Fame-
for about 10,000 years, probably.
Yeah.
The land of
Okay.
Mi'kma'ki.
In the Simpsons Hall of Fame, Nova Scotia doesn't get any call-outs, though, does it? Unfortunately.
I don't think so.
I don't think in the
Winnipeg
Simpsons. Every now and then you'll be
several
watching like
times.
movies, especially like if something nautical is happening, they'll mention Halifax because it's a port. But I don't think we get any of that like in the Simpsons.
Francis, what did you BYOBB?
I got a boxing rock. Hunky
Boxing
Dory.
Rock.
It's old.
That's a classic.
So yeah, it's a pale ale. It's a nice, easy drink.
Mhm.
It's a good standby. I've been drinking it for years. It's a good choice from like I don't know what I feel like getting. You just get an old reliable kind of.
Yeah. And
kind of
Boxing
thing.
Rock and Nine
there's-
Locks. These are two breweries in Nova Scotia
Yeah,
here that are all hits.
Yeah,
like, they
Boxing Rock
never
and
miss
Shelburne.
with their beers.
Yeah, their whole lineup is enjoyable.
Mhm.
I'm excited to start playing the field and testing out different brews for the show. Hopefully, I don't develop any kind of debilitating addictions.
No, hopefully not.
Yeah, you don't want to turn out
More
like
than
You
I
don't wanna
already
be
have.
Barney. For us or Barney. Yeah. so that's that. BYOBB. But you know what? Before we move on from the BYOBB,
Well, yes, you haven't had
one other beer-related piece of trivia for you is Francis and I once competed in Simpsons trivia at the Propeller Brewery
Yes,
here in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
I think it's safe to say we dominated.
We didn't win. We became in second place, but we
Yes.
dominated one round so hard, it's like we basically won. Because like
I have
you
one
could get
question
10
for you
points.
both.
Yeah.
I have one question. Did you guys have cool jackets like the Pin Pals?
No, but we had a cool
No.
name. What was our name?
The stupid babies that need the most attention.
The stupid babies
Wasn't
that need the
yeah.
most attention.
All right. Well,
there were some good team names though. Who were some other one?
There were some good ones.
I really like the Sweet Cans was a good.
The Sweet
was a
Cans.
good team name.
all right.
Yeah, that was a good one. But there was 1 point round out of 10, and we got 13 points.
Yeah,
we friggin' dominated that round.
The round we
The
won
luckiest
had a bunch of bonus
number.
questions, and we nailed them all. So
Yeah, all thanks to me, quite frankly, and my obscure.
he did. There was because also would be like a base question, and then they would go deeper. Like the question was something like,
How you get more points the deeper you get with the answer.
it was like,
basically.
what did Millhouse
buy at the comic shop
Yeah,
that he
what-
didn't want to
well,
get the comic.
Yeah, what did he want instead of the Radioactive Man comic? And they were accepting, a baseball card.
You got 1 point for a baseball card, another point for knowing it's Carl Yastrzemski, another point for knowing it's the one with the big sideburns.
Yes.
So we got 3 points in one question. But I wanted the Carl Yastrzemski with the big sideburns.
I can't. I'm
But
excited
anyway,
for that.
that's our little intro. Now, fellas, we're gonna have we'll highlight different characters, like mostly side characters in our sideshow spotlight as our series progresses here. But tonight, I thought, since it's our first one, perhaps we should meet the Simpsons.
Simpson, Homer Simpson. Yabba dabba doo.
So, what do we think about the fam? What do we think about? We've got young Maggie. She's like what, 1?
I don't think she even is one.
Is she even
She's
1?
like-
I don't think so.
Yeah. Nebulous.
I feel like we should know that. But
We should know that. We'll
No,
get into
this is
more
the
details.
pilot.
We've
This
got
is
a lot of
precisely-
episodes.
can I be that
So
weirdo,
we
like
don't
fact check
have to
guy
know
who's just
that.
on this
Oh,
one?
yeah,
Don't
fact
worry,
check
I'll find
guy.
it. I'll find it.
Like,
Yeah.
and then we have Lisa. She's in grade 2, right? Or 4? No,
she's in grade 3.
She's in grade 2. Yeah.
She's in grade 3.
Oh my God, we should.
I
fucking
believe
know
she. Unless I'm mistaken, I think she's in Mrs. Hoover's grade 3 class, and Bart is in grade 4.
So
Mrs.
Maggie
No,
Hoover-
he. I thought Bart was 2 grades ahead.
this. Bart's in grade 4 and she's in 2. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I think it's 4.
Okay.
Maggie is
All
1.
right, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah, see, I think it's
I
4
would
and
be
2
the
here. We're gonna
Ralph
clear
in
this
Mrs.
up.
Hoover's
Lisa
class,
Simpson is
really.
8, and she's in 2nd grade. Mrs.
Yeah,
Hoover's second
yeah.
grade.
She's in 2 and Bart's in 4.
Yeah.
Your knowledgeable podcast hosts, everyone.
Yeah, I know. We know.
Well, look.
We know everything. Speaking of
It's
side
the
characters, we're
pilot.
going to get into
It's
this
the
now.
pilot.
But
The
Bubble is
animation
an
isn't
excellent
even
side
correct.
Well, she'll have her episode.
She'll have
this
her
isn't
time.
it.
I know. I
Well,
just
yeah.
wanted to shout her out.
If she
I
is.
very much enjoy myself.
Crab apple. No.
Crandall.
And then we have
So
the
the
parents.
family.
Well,
I
Bart,
like him.
let's say, like Lisa became the star of the show eventually. But back when Francis and I were young lads, at least, Bart was a cultural phenomenon. Bart was so bad just because he would say, "I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?" and eat my
my
shorts.
Legendary line.
Like
His hair.
he's the reason
Legendary.
people didn't let their kids watch the show. Basically, just because of those 2 phrases. And he'd run around with his naked butt out. But like those 3 things is why Simpsons was kind of risque.
Yeah, this
I mean, it
Bart
wasn't
was a
until rewatching
massive
it-
character.
Go ahead, Victor.
I think that watching just the first episode, I can kind of see why people were a little culturally shocked by Bart, at least for that time that the show came out. Bart gets a tattoo in the first episode. That's pretty rebellious of him as a 10-year-old boy.
Now, before we get into the episode, actually, super fan Sam makes another good point here.
I can't help
He
it.
says, actually, this was not the first episode of The Simpsons, and he is correct because The Simpsons debuted on the Tracy Ullman Show, and they had a few different skits, and they weren't long; they were probably like 5 minutes.
There were several of them though, and it ran for about
There
3
were.
seasons. And
Yep.
it's really, we should talk about the Tracy Ullman Show
We should.
briefly because that's how a lot of
Yep.
the people the creative minds that went on to make The Simpsons first were brought together. I also wonder if our fan is alluding to the fact that the first episode of The Simpsons was actually the Babysitter Bandit episode, but they edited it so poorly that they had to bump it back to the end of the season.
Yeah, the
So
end.
maybe also referring to that.
He's probably
but-
referring to that. I thought we were going to start the show with Babysitter Bandit, actually, and then I did more research, and I'm like, oh, actually, we're not starting with the Babysitter Bandit. We're ending the first
If
season
we're
with the
going off of
Babysitter Bandit.
the season chronology, this is the first episode.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the Beatles' last album is Let It Be, because it was chronologically the last one. But Abbey Road was recorded before it. So
And I think we'll find when we
Or
get
after.
there that the Babysitter Bandit even being pushed back because of the issues it had to the end of the season.
yeah, we'll get
Just
into all that
was
when we discuss that
sketchiest
episode.
in animation. Like it
Yeah,
has,
it's a little rough.
it's a little rough.
Well, talking about rough,
all right,
Ullman
fellas.
shorts. Oh,
Yeah.
ooh.
Well, yeah.
The very
They were
first almond
funny,
short.
but they haven't quite nailed the character. Other than Bart, Bart is Bart in those skits, but the rest of them haven't quite found who they are yet.
Homer
And this
evolves a
season
lot,
is
even in the
that.
first few seasons of the show. His
Yeah.
character, like we'll get into it, but Pilot Homer is very different from.
Well, the show
even season 2.
lives and dies on him. Like Homer is the character they change the most every season through season,
Mhm.
and by the time they change him too much, that's when the show dies, in my opinion.
Well, and
So we'll see how we get
and
there.
as we progress, we'll get to this, but I do believe, there was a shift where initially, like, it's Bart Simpson because he's a rebel, who's whatever, and like a couple
He was the
seasons,
star. Bart
and
was the star for the
a
first
couple
couple years.
a couple seasons, and it sort
Yeah.
of shifts to Homer and his stupidity and his antics, and that's
Yeah.
where you
And
know,
then Lisa.
and then
Like
Lisa
they
has
kind of
yeah.
Yep.
I agree with both of you.
Like
Basically,
Lisa's the
it's
star of
like
the show
Bart
now,
Simpson.
I think. I don't watch it
Well, I
anymore.
mean, who
but
knows now?
who
Like
knows?
season like
Who
87.
knows? Yeah, they're season 87. We're old. We
I
have
believe
we
they're
have
on
kids. We
season
have so much time in the
34.
day.
Season 34?
That's insane.
Well, when did it start? What was the year? Fact check. Granny's our fact check.
87 was the almond
89.
show, I believe.
I want to say 89, but
I want to say 89 as well. Because I used to confuse this with Star Trek TNG, but TNG is 87, and I think Simpsons is 89.
Yeah, it was 1989. December 17th was the first episode.
so yeah, I'm coming up with 87, but that's for the skits.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah. The almond.
it's gonna be
skits
hard
was
to find
87.
that info. But basically,
Yeah,
It's
December 17th,
91 for
89.
the
89
show, or
okay,
the
so
89
the very
rather
end of
for the
89.
show.
Because it was a very
December
much a
7th.
90s, early 90s phenomena. Like in the early 90s, The Simpsons was the thing.
Mhm.
Like they were the biggest thing on TV. There was
Very
video games like
grunge
Bart versus the
show.
Space Mutants. Great NES game, by the way.
It's
Hard. But
Yeah,
it's a
that
good
was
game.
a
We'll get into the expanded
Oh,
media
so
of The
good.
Simpsons as well. The video
Yeah,
games
I'll
and other
create a
spin-offs.
segment for that. I forgot about that. And you know what? Simpsons comics are really good. But we'll
Yeah.
meet the Simpsons. There's the kids. Lisa's the smart one, as we all know, and like for someone in grade 2, insanely smart. And then we have the parents, of course, Marge, who's your typical kind of a bit out of her time. Like I was not so much a '90s housewife, but more like a '70s housewife kind of thing.
Well,
Yeah.
and this is almost like a weird phenomenon. We don't need to tackle the subject right now, but like this idea of like the platonic family, like the 2.3 kids, the stay at home wife who puts up with her husband's bullshit, no matter the fact that he's like a fat,
just a drunk,
emotionally abusive alcoholic, and like all she does is murmur under her breath about it.
Yeah.
Like I almost am with you, Dav. Like that's almost like farther removed than the '90s. Like that's that's even decades.
Well, they were
before
basing the show
attitude,
off of like
right?
the or the Flintstones and All in the Family and all these older things. So they were just
the nuclear family
using an established format.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of a critique or a satire of the nuclear American family.
Yeah, definitely.
Marge, yes, I think she's a complex character in some ways because, like you said, Davan, she's sort of a character out of time, which makes her interesting. She's very naive.
But they haven't given up on that. Like Family Guy is that.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get into the Family Guy influence when that creeps into play. Or, well, I guess that's a shadow that'll be hanging over the whole show is Family Guy.
So that's the Simpson family, and the other main Simpsons family member is good old Abraham. But we might give him a side character spot.
Yeah, you know what? I love a good grandpa segment sometimes. He's got some funny stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he sure does.
His rambling stories. They're fantastic.
Well, you know what, fellas? Let's get into the breakdown, the episode breakdown.
Don't mind if I do. What?
We're getting into it. We're having a breakdown.
Classic episode of The Simpsons, the Shining parody, I do believe.
Yeah. So this episode begins as Homer drives Marge and Maggie to the school. They're going to see the Christmas pageant, and we get there, and they take their seats, and a young lass comes out and has this to say.
Santa's servant Ruprecht gives presents to good children and whipping rods to the parents of bad ones.
Tell us about
my.
Brutrecht, Frank Baker.
Well, I did a little digging. Ruprecht is a real figure in German mythology. It's actually a little more gnarly than what they allude
That's
to
what she
in the
said.
show. He's his most familiar attendant of Saint Nicholas, and he is a figure with a long staff and a hooded robe. He hits children with his bag of ashes if they are naughty.
A bag of
Something they
ashes.
didn't
Why are
get
you
into.
carrying around ashes?
Are they ashes of cremated
Yeah,
children? Like,
he
where
has
Yeah,
a bag
seriously.
of incinerated children's ashes.
are they really? Oh my god!
So
Oh
yeah,
my
that's
god.
shocking.
That was a joke. Is that real?
No, this is real. This is,
Oh
or
my
well, it's
god, that
not
was a
real.
joke.
I
I
was
don't
picturing
think
like
that this is
ashes
a
from the
real
fire. I
person,
was just joking. Oh
but
my
it's
Oh
a
my
real.
god.
This is real mythology.
The Ruprecht
And yeah, he
burns
would also
children and
give
then carries the
children a
remains around in
stick
a
to hit
bag.
them with. But what's interesting is the part about the stick, the beating of children with the sticks. There's no citation for it, which leads me to believe that it was something that somebody who watched The Simpsons maybe came up with. So the part about the children's ashes in a bag, that's the real history.
Oh
But the whipping
God.
rods is just Matt Groening.
Yeah, that's just,
Sam
that's the
Simon.
child-friendly version.
I'm sorry, I can't get. It's like, and if you're too bad, he'll burn you and add you to his bag.
Like, that's seriously scarier than
Yeah,
Krampus
seriously, fuck
and
him
all
up.
these
Yeah,
other.
I'm glad you mentioned Krampus because Krampus
Yeah.
is also involved in the mythology.
The Ruprecht
So in
myth?
some versions of the
What?
story, Krampus accompanies the assistant and Saint Nicholas as they are distributing treats to good children and beatings to bad children, or incinerations again, depending on the version. So yeah,
like
some
Marvel
dark-
character crossover. Like, yo, sometimes Krampus is there too.
Hey,
You know,
you never know where he's
kid
creeping
is
around.
extra bad. Oh man. So they're there, they're listening, and then Lisa comes out and has her time in the sun. And look at that.
Yeah, see, this is
That's a little-
interesting.
That's pretty much.
As a frozen
The
image, that's
animation choice.
Yeah.
The-
I would have given her more of a skirt myself.
I can see why the audience was so shocked.
Yeah, they were going for shock value, and early Simpsons was all about that because it didn't take much to shock.
I think honestly though, I think more so that's a sign, kind of like how Smithers has a different skin tone, and some of the like Lisa's saxophone is blue, and Bart's
Working
shirt
that.
is blue. It's
If
like
she has a
some of the
blue
colors-
saxophone. Are you serious?
Yeah, watch the intro to the show. She has a blue saxophone in the scene
Oh
when
my
she's
God.
kicked out of the music
I missed
class.
that.
well, and even
Yeah.
to that point in this exact episode, one of the kids giving a presentation is Ralph. Before he's Ralph, he has a different voice.
Yeah,
he's not a named
not
character.
Ralph
It's the
that we're
same.
familiar
It's the
with.
same drawn character, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think
Yeah.
that's just a
By
quirk of the
season
animation.
2,
I
everything's
don't think they were intentionally making Lisa wearing promiscuous clothing, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's just
Maybe
supposed
they
to
were
be
going
like
for real
a
edgy stuff.
a leaf dress, like a hula. Kind
Yeah,
of
that's what they were going for, but just the way they drew
Yeah,
it, it's just a couple.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
poor
that's
animation.
still image is really like, yeah.
Poor, it's the pilot. Just like our fans can forgive us for our sloppiness, we can forgive them.
She's playing.
also-
She's Tawanga, the Santa
Yes.
Claus of the South Seas.
Tawanga, I don't think Tawanga is a real figure. I did some digging.
No, I don't think so.
The Japanese
I don't think they have a
figure-
Santa Claus in the South Seas, quite frankly.
Yeah, maybe they're missionaries. The Japanese figure though is real.
Well, they do
This is
now.
another character that was taken right out of folklore. So Hotisho's. I'm not going to embarrass myself any further, but yes, it's a real person. The fact about the eyes on the back of the head, though, again, may have just been a Simpsons thing. So
Okay, interesting. Baker's our deep diver here into the history. He has a degree.
don't tell people how I live.
Homer's bored. He's not really digging this whole thing. So anyways, they go home, and Marge is writing a letter to Santa. and she's telling everybody about the kids, and she's like, "Oh, they're great," and she's just like, and there's Bart. We love
We
Bart.
love Bart.
That's all she really has to say.
Can I also briefly add Homer when he's bored? I laughed out loud. This was very funny when he said, "How many grades does this school have?"
And that is hilarious. My
There's a
God,
lot of really funny moments for the pilot. It's very funny. I was expecting it to
the
be
hardest
less.
part of my job here, fellas, is choosing the sound clips because I could literally almost pick every single one from the episodes on a lot of these episodes. So
Yeah, and it's nice to like. I found it funny. Like I don't like when they're going through the crowd and they're late, and he's stepping on everybody's feet, but he's like saying what's up to all the dads as they're going through. Like one is funny because he's being
Bro
rude, but
fist.
two, like they're connecting with an audience again. Like I mean, you remember having Christmas pageants as a kid, and they were probably all so shitty, and like your parents always
Oh, yeah.
came, and the whole place was always packed. So it's just also like not only is it funny, but it's a relatable thing for these like late 80s, early 90s parents to be like, oh yeah, I remember like I do this every year and all I want to do is talk to the other dads and maybe have a drink and we gotta sit through this bullshit. And like it connects with them, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like how Bart's singing the song wrong. Like I did that
Ah, I'm
in
glad you
elementary
mentioned that
school.
as well, because that is another interesting little factoid I have for you, gentlemen. So it
Okay.
is popularly believed that the joke version of Jingle Bells involving Batman smells originated from The Simpsons. But in
Really?
fact, there's been versions of it floating around since the 60s.
I would
So
think
it
so.
Yeah,
is
I can't I
Yeah.
well,
That
I
felt
you
like an
know,
old reference
apparently a
to me.
lot of people believe this to be true. So
might
there
have
you
been
go,
yeah,
folks.
first
It
time a
didn't
lot of
come
people
from The
heard it, I guess
Simpsons.
maybe.
Robin laid an egg. The
Yeah,
Batmobile
Mac
lost
throwing
its
it.
wheel and Joker got away. We used to sing that as a kid all the time.
Also, we got to hammer this down now. My brain it doesn't work correctly, so I need to sometimes be schooled. How do we pronounce it? Is Matt Groening?
It's
Groening?
raining.
Okay, got
All right.
it.
So
Let's check.
I wish you had a sound clip of him being like, get out of my office.
get out of my house. So then they're back at home, and they're writing the Christmas letters, and they get a phone call.
Marge, please.
Who's this?
May I please speak to Marge?
This is her sister, isn't it?
Is Marge there?
Who shall I say is calling?
Marge, please.
Patty and Selma, man. Like I thought it was Barney for a second, but actually the side character stars of this episode is Patty and Selma, or I guess
Consistent
that was
from the
just
jump,
Patty.
really. Like they don't. That's who they are right from the first episode. Surly,
Yeah, they don't change.
Yeah.
crabby.
It's just like subtle disrespect to like well more than
Yeah.
subtle, but just like this like complete lack of acknowledgement of Homer's role as a spouse, like in any way. And if he is
Yeah.
acknowledged, he's like talked down to. Like
Oh yeah.
that exchange, I was laughing so hard at that. I
Me
forgot
too.
about that part. And it's the most disrespectful cold shit. Like imagine if someone
Yeah.
called you like that in real life.
I would have
It's
passed the
insane.
bonfires.
It's actually insane, and I admit that is my favorite part of this entire episode. That phone call right there. I love that so much. Just
I think we
it
haven't gotten
nails
to
their
my favorite
characters
part
down.
yet.
All right.
My favorite
we'll
part's
get
coming
there.
up.
We're getting there. I think I know what it probably is, but we'll get there. So
Lisa
they're
wants a
doing their
pony.
wish list. Marge is upset with Lisa because Lisa wants a pony. Bart wants a tattoo. They're like, you can't get a tattoo. But
I love
we'll see
Homer's
about
response though. That you can
Yeah, he's just
do
like,
it
if you want a
pay
tattoo,
for
you
it
have to pay with
yourself.
it with your own money. Yeah.
Father of the year, right? They
Yeah, just
established
this-
Homer as an excellent father.
No,
This
absolutely.
tired attempt to show some sort of discipline.
But
Oh,
I'll say
yeah.
the classic Homer Simpson. He's not a negligent father. He means well. He's just a
No,
bit
he
of
is
an oaf.
negligent. No, he's negligent, but he means well.
No,
He loves his
yeah,
family.
okay.
He's very stupid and very negligent.
But he gets stupider. See, you alluded to that already. We'll talk
Yes.
about that as we go. Different eras of Homer's intelligence.
The show hinges on his intelligence, essentially, and how much he cares for his family. Eventually, he doesn't. And that's
Kind of
when we
like
say
how this
bye.
show hinges on our intelligence or lack thereof.
And our love for each other.
Yeah, and we're all family too, right? Just like the
We're
Simpsons.
all fam here.
Yeah, and at this point, you can say he's stupid. You can throw it there, but it's more like he's bumbling and like a little bit unaware. Like he's almost more of like a joke than anything. And
But not far removed from a father of that era.
well, yeah,
Like,
but
he was a
eventually,
realistic figure at first.
yeah, but eventually he becomes legitimately stupid. Like this
Yeah.
guy's
Yeah.
an idiot.
Gets his
Like,
head stuck in bridges and things like that.
yeah, thinks his arms are gonna grow back if they saw them off. Like
Yeah, right. Yes. No, that's funny.
this
This is a great
Mr.
episode.
Simpson, are you holding onto the cans?
No.
no,
All right. Oh man, we could just reference
yeah.
future episodes till the cows come home, but we should stick to the pilot.
we got World Mind here.
Yeah, Will My Murphy here. Homer weaponizes stupidity. Yeah,
He does absolutely. Yeah.
He does.
No question.
He does.
So
Marge hides
we're at
the money jar.
We're at breakfast the next morning, and Marge tells the kids to grab their money because they're going Christmas shopping. And Homer, they see the jar. He's like, "Oh, that's a pretty sweet,
Yeah, big
pretty,
jar this year.
big jar this year." So they go to the mall, and Bart goes off by himself and finds a tattoo parlor. And he goes into the tattoo parlor and talks to the fella.
How old are you?
21, sir.
Get in a chair.
Yes.
Did
That's
they
the
ID
guy
you,
I want.
Baker?
Tattooing me.
Did they ID
No
you last
questions,
week?
no must, no forms. Just come on, get in the chair.
How old
What
are
a
you?
responsible human being.
But you know what?
Eh?
That's another cultural thing, Baker. I don't know. You may be a little young for this, but in the 80s and very early 90s, the world was still the Wild West. And like you could still, as a 4-year-old, go to the convenience store and buy smokes for your parents. But you
Oh,
didn't
I
actually have
believe
to
it.
give them to your parents.
My first
Like,
few tattoos, I was underage and they didn't ID me. So even
yeah.
10 years ago, there was a lot of shops that just didn't have the same kind of standards that are more common today, I feel
Oh,
like.
yeah. Before the internet, the world was a crazy place. I mean, it's crazier now in some ways, but like, it was the Wild West, man. You could do anything. You're gonna give
We
those
got a lot of
kids
crazy
your
stuff
parents,
on that
like,
internet.
yeah, sure. Like,
Also, Marge, we have the first Marge physical gag with her hair. She hides the money in her hair.
right? Yeah.
Great little
That's-
Yeah,
touch.
it's just like she pulls her right over. It's like, do you just keep that there all the time? Like, is that your daily
Yeah,
hiding
seriously.
spot?
Is
Or
it like
like
there
it's-
all year? Like, yeah. So Bart gets into the tattoo chair and he does scream a little bit. He does not so much into the needles.
That is my favorite part as well.
they hear us because they're looking for him.
Yeah, right. And so, then you go back to the Marge goes in and pulls him out of the chair. But then you go back to the nuclear power plant and Homer finds out he's not getting the Christmas bonus this year.
What did they say? Did we have a clip of that? He
They
says,
announce over the
yeah,
PA
he says something
system.
super cold. Like we
No.
managed to like keep
Yeah.
profit down without.
Yeah,
without,
I don't have that.
While being able to keep
Keep your heads down, peons. No bonus
executive
fee.
bonuses were good, but there's no Christmas bonus.
And again, this is just like this mirror of like real life. It's just like insatiable capitalist culture, which is like is always on the backs of the workers. Like, oh, you guys don't get bonuses so that we could lower the price for the consumer and still give our executives raises.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. I mean, it's
Which is just him and Smithers.
Yeah, but it's a National Lampoon. Like that theme is all across like, late 80s, early 90s, this sort of like corporate.
But they hit it first.
Corporate gluttony, right?
Like this is the stuff people started talking about in the 2000s, and Simpsons was talking about it in 1980.
Cutting edge. Also, I believe this is another example of a character who really doesn't change too much. We got Mr. Burns right from the beginning. He's a miserly, old, greedy man who only cares.
Smithers, they don't change except for his skin color. Yeah.
Well, I also we'll talk about this as the show goes on. Was Smithers intentionally gay from the beginning, or was he a yes
and
man?
that's one of the reasons they changed his skin.
That's what I was going to ask because was that from the inception or at some point did they decide to make that a thing?
See, what I read some time ago, so I'd have to check the sources, was that he was always Smithers. He was gay and attracted to Mr. Burns. But basically his indentured servant. So they eventually thought maybe we shouldn't have him be black. We'll make him a white character because to avoid controversy, which
Yeah,
they
with
didn't
him
foresee
being
the
a-
Hank Azaria
Yeah,
controversy.
it's him being a servant to like a
But
wealthy white man kind of thing.
but yeah, so then they changed it. But Francis and I agree he looked weird as a black.
He didn't.
He
He wasn't even really black. He was kind of this
No.
like tan toned.
Yeah.
I need to give him fucking like a do rag and a chain, then I'm down with it.
And his
There
hair
are a
was
I
lot
can
of
say that, I'm
weird
black,
color
so-
changes
Yeah,
from the
let's say
first
that.
few episodes. Wiggum has black hair in the
Wiggum.
first couple episodes.
Weird, yeah.
And
I
then it
think you're
goes
right,
gray.
Dexter.
And then they
Yeah,
make it
yeah,
gray.
it's blue hair normally, I
Like
think.
blue hair. Wiggum has
And
blue
then-
hair. Oh yeah, he does, doesn't he?
I think he does, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Wiggum, I'll just say this now to our podcast fans.
Great character.
Wiggum is my favorite character, I think. which
Is he really?
Oh, see, it's saying a
Wiggum's
lot.
great.
All right, let's lay it
If
down.
I'm
You
doing
know
at
what?
least the top 5, he's in the top 5.
I'm glad you said
We'll
that,
have to have
Baker. No,
a segment
I
or
like-
an
I
stick
episode
to
about
that. He's your favorite character. Francis, who's your favorite?
As a side character, it's got to be Mo, hands down.
Okay.
I've gained an appreciation for Krusty too, just like his haggardness. But like, though my beef with Mo is that like he was a great side character. He was just like this gruff, illegal, hands down, like cutthroat, but like kind of pathetic guy. But in some
Yeah,
of the like
kinda
newer
pathetic.
seasons, like maybe like past 10, 11, and 12, they started making him like too pathetic. Like looking at a noose and being like, "Oh, my old friend" and stuff. Like it got too too sad.
It became.
you
It
know,
started to parody itself. This show.
Yeah.
Oh
You
no,
get
I
to
agree
Mo
with
in the
Francis.
first
Mo is
episode,
my
eh?
favorite character. But if I had to pick one because Franny picked Mo, it may be Sideshow Bob. But
Sideshow
like,
Bob's great.
but
Sideshow Bob's a good
Mo
choice.
is my favorite.
Yeah, well, Mo is I love Mo as well, for sure. When I
You know
pick Wiggum, it's a
Mr.
really
Burns
tough
is
call.
friggin' amazing too. And Krusty,
we
you're
don't-
right about that.
We don't get Wiggum in the first episode. We get Burns,
No.
or sorry, we do get Mo in the first episode. We see
Do
Mo's
we?
tavern. Yeah.
Oh, because that's
Because
where
he gives
Barney tells
Homer
him
a
he's
candy
going to
cane.
bet on the horses. Yeah, yeah. So let's get back into this plot here.
Yeah, we don't want to lose the thread, right, Dav?
No, well, we got to get through this episode synopsis so to get to all my fun games and shit. So
Ooh, yeah.
back at the
games.
mall, Marge hears Bart yelling in pain, and she rips him out of the chair, and then she realizes she has to spend all the Christmas money on tattoo removal.
At Dr. Zitsofsky, something like
Is
that.
that his name?
Yeah, his name is a pun.
Zitsofsky? Was that
I did
seriously
not
his
notice
name?
that.
Yeah. Let me pull it up right now, but I'm quite certain.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a classic.
And then Marge is like, good thing we have your
Their
Christmas
puns were
bonus.
on
and
point.
Homer's like, yeah, my good old Christmas bonus, even though he knows he's not getting it. So, Marge is in bed that night, and Homer's is like, how about I do the Christmas shopping this year?
Yeah, because she wants to know what's wrong. He's being sketchy.
Yeah. And, see, this is the thing about early Simpsons. It's like Homer loves his family, and, like, they all do. Like, they feel like a real
course.
family.
Yeah,
And
it's not just like
he knows he's
everything
a screw up on
laughs
some
or
level.
sentiment.
Like, in later seasons, he's not even self-aware.
Yeah.
But he is in these early seasons, and he knows that he's a bit of a screw up. And, and there's nothing he could do about Mr. Burns being a scumbag and losing his Christmas bonus, but he still feels guilty.
I see someone
Yeah,
asking about Ned Flanders. We'll get to him in a moment.
Oh, is somebody
Dr.
in the comments
Zitsofsky
there?
is the name, though. I checked.
What do we think? Oh, well, look, Sam, we're going to talk about Ned Flanders, but he's not in this episode. And we'll get to him, because Ned Flanders has some great episodes later on. For sure. But there's Bart in the chair.
I read online at least one person arguing that's Dr. Marvin Monroe, but I don't think that it is.
It maybe
No, it's not.
it's the
It
same
doesn't even
style.
look like
No,
him.
it does. He's got the
I'm
same.
also a tattoo artist. What do you think
We'll
about
get
that?
it. Marvin will have an episode coming up too, but they get rid of him. He doesn't.
Is
like
it Azaria? I think Azaria did the voice, and he hated doing it because it hurt his throat.
Oh, really?
Dr. Marvin
That's a good-
Monroe,
that's an
he had
interesting
a
tidbit.
real gravelly voice.
This is funny though, where they're all like poking Bart's tattoo wound.
Yeah.
Even
Ow!
Homer comes up and he's just like, "Let me poke it." He's like, "Ow,
Ow, quit it. Ow.
Quit it.
ow, quit it, ow, quit it." Yeah, that's classic. So then Homer goes shopping.
How old are you?
21, sir.
Get in a chair.
My finger slipped.
Pilot
Finger
episode.
slipped.
Fucking up, Davan.
Woo!
Oh man, no, I do that all day on my X-Men podcast. My finger slips all the time. But here, Homer's shopping.
Ooh, look! Pantyhose. Practical and alluring. Ooh, that's a paper. I bet Bart can think of a million things to do with
A
these.
million things to do with pads of paper.
That would have made more sense if he said, I think Lisa could think of things to do with these. Bart does not know what to do with paper.
But again,
Well,
though,
it shows how
speaking to
clueless
this
Homer
like,
is, though.
He doesn't know his
disconnect,
kids.
this buffoonery that he
Yeah.
has going on, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And he didn't even buy anything for Lisa. He gets the paper for Bart, and then he gets a chew toy for Maggie. But he forgets
That's
about
pretty
Lisa
on point,
entirely.
though. Homer really just not regarding Lisa or thinking much about her most of the time.
Or Maggie, like in that court scene way later
Yeah.
in the series. It's like, Margaret, who the hell are you talking about, Judge?
Girl Bart. There's an episode I think where he refers to Lisa as Girl Bart, and there's also another episode where he's thinking about the
Girl
family.
Bart. Does that really happen? I don't remember that.
Oh
Girl
yeah,
Bart.
and then there's one where he
Oh
thinks
my
about
God.
little Bart who's swinging a bat, and then little Lisa also swinging a bat, little Marge also swinging a bat, and then he says and the rest,
and the
and it's
rest.
the TV, the cat, the dog, and Maggie. So Maggie's
My
just
God.
like in the rest along with the TV.
Yeah, but that's a theme
Classic.
throughout it, is him forgetting Maggie's name, forgetting she exists.
But then they do
Almost
that
saying-
episode where Maggie's the center of his whole life.
It's true. Do it
So
for
that's
her.
an
We'll get to that
interesting-
too.
We
We got so
will.
many classics that we're gonna get to.
Oh, there's so much to
Yeah,
talk
so
about.
much ground to cover.
And you know,
And
they're
here
just
we
looking
go,
at the Flanders house. The Flanders is.
Castle.
Yeah. Merry
I wouldn't
Christmas.
wanna be
You know,
next to that.
you'd
That's
think
a lot of
Flanders would just have like Jesus up there or something. But you know, whatever. He's commercialized. Even Flanders is commercialized a little bit.
Well, he wasn't a Christian character as much in the original show episodes.
I suppose not.
Yeah, he's
They
probably
had-
just, you
the
know,
term
the goody
Flanderization
two-shoes
with-
neighbor, kind of.
Yeah, we can talk about Flanderization a little bit as the show goes on, but
Yeah.
just briefly,
You-
that's a
you know
term
what,
that
though? Like-
evolved out of The Simpsons, and it just means a character that becomes increasingly stereotyped based on a trait that they had, and then that trait evolves to become like their whole personality. So like Flanders was, always was Christian, but it's just over time that became more and more of his identity. If you watch the early episodes, it's not as
They just like double down on every
He's
character.
a great
until it
character,
gets
though.
bad.
You know, I don't think
He-
about Flanders
oh,
much.
yeah.
Like, he's not one of my favorites,
But he's
but he's well written in his development. And like, you know, as a series progresses and they have to have these sort of like offshoots and like take side characters and make more main stories about them, Flanders, I think, is one they did really well. And
Yeah.
digging into this hardcore Christian thing that he is, they still kept it funny. It didn't try
Oh
to.
yeah,
It happened naturally. And like the episodes were like Homer wants to be his best friend and he actually ends up hating that. And the one where like they find out about like his therapy and he actually has this explosion at everybody. Flanders is, you know what, when you look at the span of the series, he's extremely well written and like he flies under your radar a lot.
Yeah.
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 He
does.
also plays off of Homer really well. He's probably one of the very best foils
Really, though?
for Homer. He
That's
brings
a good
great
point.
comedy out of Homer. There's
couldn't
the
be more
classic line,
different.
Stupid, sexy Flanders.
Like
There's so many
Flanders is
times.
still a bit naive and clueless, so like he'll buy into a lot of Homer's bullshit. And like oh, like the speed holes. He's like, oh, well, maybe I need a few speed holes.
Yeah, and
What?
how Homer keeps stealing all his stuff, always borrows his stuff and never gives it back. But again, this is just like,
Oh, Penny Can Ned.
yeah.
Oh.
But again, this is like relating to real life, and like this is just like a caricature of your like shitty neighbor who never gives your shit back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Homer really is your shitty neighbor that you just don't want to.
Oh yeah. He really is. Yeah. So then he runs into Barney at the bar, and Barney's just like, "Yeah, I'm like a Santa at the mall." And his Homer's like, "Can I do that?" Oh wait, do I have a clip? Oh wait, here we go.
I got me a part-time job working as a Santa down at the mall.
Wow. Can I do that?
But I don't know. They're pretty selective.
They're pretty selective down at the mall.
Yeah.
Only drunks, obvious drunks. Like Barney's the most obvious drunk in the history of TV, cinema, anything.
Yeah, and he stays pretty consistent as well. Like we're getting the drunken Barney pretty much right from the start.
Yeah, they nailed
Voice,
him right.
his voice is a little different, but it
Not much,
changes.
though.
Yeah, not much.
Not a
It's
bad
very
Barney,
close.
man. You do okay.
Yeah, you do a good Barney.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can't do the burp though.
Yeah, no one can do that. Annie up.
Yeah, some of yours.
All right, we're adding up some shots here.
I'll have my liquor for next episode, boys.
I mean, we're having sips of apple juice for our younger daughters.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
think you mean turnip juice. Excuse you.
Yes, turnip juice, of course.
Let's all settle down with a cool glass of turnip juice.
They banished the.
This is definitely a
banished the lemon tree
podcast,
forever.
right?
It was haunted.
The
Yeah,
quality
we could
level.
have just called it. Look. Shelbyville is underrated. It's a fine community. I won't have no
color of their
Shelbyville
hydrant
slander
is a little
on
strange.
my show, because Shelbyville is an honorable place. Turnips are an honorable vegetable, I think.
Consistent.
Yeah, I used to wear them.
I mean,
at
you
my- I
only
used to
really
wear them
wanted it
on my
on
belt.
Thanksgiving or in like a boiled dinner, like
I
Newfoundland
wear
style
turnips
or
on my
something.
belt back when it
Sam,
was
you
a
know
style.
about that. Superfan Sam's a Newfie. He knows about boiled
we have
dinner.
a
You know about
Newfoundlander.
like
Yeah,
some
excellent.
salt. You know, you throw your friggin' salt meat into the boiled dinner. You know what I'm talking about.
So Homer outside
Jig's
Ned's
dinner, they
house.
call it. That's it. Jig's dinner in Newfoundland. Sam, sound off in the
We're
comments.
just tearing through this episode, right? So
Well,
Homer,
we're getting through
outside
it
Ned's
slowly.
house.
Look, I was going to warn you guys, the first episode of a podcast is always twice as long as all the rest of them.
I'm just trying to keep
So
us on point. That's all. I'm not complaining.
Oh, yeah.
Just wrangle
I'm
us
having
in.
fun.
All right. So Homer, he's back. Homer goes and tries to get the job as Santa.
Do you like children all the time? Even when they're nuts?
Very relatable.
That's
man.
actually-
It's great. Like, that's one of the most timeless lines in the history of TV, probably.
That's one of the most relatable things, probably.
Oh my God. There's a couple of parents here on this
Yeah.
screen.
I'm just picturing.
Well, I
like,
work with kids. My
89
job,
and
I
just
work
how
with
many
kids every
dads.
day.
True, you work with kids.
Yeah, I did
At the
today.
museum.
I led like a 50 group of 2 classrooms, so like 50 kids, and we did exploring culture. I ran around banging a drum and doing all kinds of other goofy stuff. Yeah, working with kids, not always fun.
They're nuts.
They can get nuts, and it can be like exasperating. Yeah.
Homer's so confused by the question. He's like, "Are you serious? Like, you know what kids are like, right?"
Yeah, all I'm picturing is it's 89 and there's all these suburban dads. It's close to Christmas. They're trying to shop. All this hectic stuff is going, and seeing that line and just losing their shit.
Man,
how could
they
you
must
not
have
laugh
lost it.
the first time you hear that in a new show? Like, you know what I mean? That's so perfect.
Oh man,
Yeah. Well, it's
That's a
another thing
deadly
that's
line.
so true to the times. It's something, again, I remember as a very young boy, I was one of those kids who was brought to one of those silly Santa lines, right? I can only imagine in retrospect what my parents were thinking, like, oh God, like, kill me.
Who is this
terrible.
creep in the Santa costume?
Yeah, I
like,
know.
you never know.
Yeah, I mean, we can. There's a lot of other problematic things with like super drunk fat Barney being.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can't assume things, but like he's an undesirable character who's in like a position of sensitivity,
Well,
which is just like wouldn't really fly these
He's
days.
driving in
Simpsons
this
will do
episode,
that.
too.
Yeah,
Simpsons will hint subtly towards things that are like even more problematic in society, and they don't want to hang a lantern on it too much. But they'll there's layers to Simpsons jokes.
Mhm.
Like,
We'll get
you
into
can-
some of the real dark
Oh.
Simpsons jokes that
we
exist.
we certainly will. So, yeah, Homer gets the job. He gets the kid just like, "I want all these things." He's just like, "I want this." He's like, so Homer's like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And then Bart gets up there and pulls his beard off and all that stuff.
Yep. It's classic Simpsons moment. Pulls
Yeah.
the beard
You know
off
what
of the
you know what I
camera.
like about that though? I like that when it happens, they take the angle of instead of Bart laughing at him and being like, "Oh my God, Dad," he understands, and
He
Homer,
does, yeah.
Homer
Yeah.
levels with him and says, "Listen, I don't got any money. I didn't get the bonus. This is what I got to do to get Christmas for you guys." And Bart's like, "Man, you must really love us." Like, there's this moment of understanding where like the Joker
Yep.
part of Bart disappears, and they actually have this like father-son connection for a minute, and Bart gets on board to like help him cover it up and deal with it, right?
Yeah, Davan, like you said, they really love each other. It's a family,
They love each other.
like part of what the charm of the original Simpsons, for the first several seasons, I would say, before the characters kind of get a little goofier, a little
They're
more
true to themselves.
exaggerated. They're authentic humans. Bart is a
Yep.
prankster and he's a jokester, but he still loves his family and he feels bad for his father. And this is the beginning of the first of many great Bart Homer episodes. They have a lot
Well,
of
they're
really
alike. They relate
Yeah.
on the fact that they're both kind of stupid.
Yeah, they're
Right.
both doofuses.
Yeah, they're both doofuses, and they know each
Simpson
other are
gene.
doofuses.
Simpson gene.
Yeah, this. Yeah. Well, I love how they like Abe is like this super like competent hero in his youth, but like. But we'll get into that. Abe is a great. You know what?
Flying
Another great
catfish.
character. If I had to pick a top 3 characters, Abraham
You know
Simpson
what?
might be one of
He's
them.
another one gets under my radar, but Grandpa's a great character. He has some really,
Yeah.
really funny moments.
He
He's
sure is.
lurking
He
in
has
the
some
first
really quotable
episode.
lines.
He's not
So-
really much of a character in it, but he's mentioned and shown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll yada yada through this a bit. But Homer tries to do what Barney does. He goes to the racetrack because Barney's just like, I have a horse in the race, or like an underground tip, number 7 or
Not a
whatever he
horse.
says it is. Not a horse, it's a dog. It's a greyhound.
They're little horses, though. Isn't that what the sign says? It's like,
Oh, is that
like
actually what the
little
sign
horses or
says?
something.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, first, actually, I skipped over something. Homer goes home, and Patty and Selma are over at the house.
Daddy, we're so glad to see you.
What? Why?
So it's hilarious.
As someone who has a 2-year-old daughter who's always happy to see me, that line is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because, like, even his young kids don't care about him. He's like, what?
It's like you become suspicious because
Yeah,
they're
it's like,
excited to
what?
see you. And then he walks in and sees sisters and he goes, oh.
Yeah, even the kids don't like
Yeah,
Patty
it
and
makes
Selma.
sense.
That's crazy, though. Like, usually kids
Patty and
love their
Selma
aunts and
are not
uncles,
just
you know
mean to
what?
Homer. We see
No.
them being, or I don't know if it's Patty or Selma that's very mean to Lisa when she's like, please don't criticize my dad in front of me. She's like,
You
watch
think
your
that's
cartoon.
Selma? Selma seems to be the more upfront one, and Patty's usually the one kind of in the background.
As we go on, I want to pay attention to the characterization of the two of them. I think you're correct about that, though. They're very subtly different characters. Of course,
Yeah,
over
I think
time, they
you're right.
become more different.
Yeah.
Like Selma's the one that dates Sideshow Bob and stuff. She's a bit more
Mhm.
crazy.
Which of the two characters eventually becomes, or I guess was always gay and then becomes out?
I think that's Patty.
Patty, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
We'll
yeah,
explore those two
Interesting,
characters
though, I never
more, of
really
course.
thought about that because you see them as such a team and you see them as just like this bullying, evil sister-in-law
Marge,
team.
please.
But they do work on subtle differences between them. And as the series goes on, that gets, more and more prominent and allows them to play off each other better, right? Yeah, I'm with you, Alex. Let's pay attention to that as we get through this.
I agree. How they differentiate between the two of them, for sure. So yeah, so Homer's, he gets the job and all that stuff, and then they're back at the Simpsons house, and Grandpa's there too, of course. And so they're at the racetrack. All right, let's jump ahead. They're at the racetrack. Homer takes Bart to the racetrack.
Which is
Transition
again,
to
just
the
like, the
racetrack has a
greatest
really great
parenting
gag,
on
too.
earth, right? What was that?
The gag,
that?
I love when Marge says, "Oh, Bart and Homer must be out caroling," and then it cuts to
Yeah.
them.
Well,
walking
that's
to
what
the
he tells
racetrack,
her.
and they're like,
Like,
we're in the money. I love it. They're kind of caroling,
Well, like
That's a great
Homer
gag.
has the sweet tip. He's like he has the tip, and he like doesn't go with it.
But again, this is one of these things. It's like this this like juxtaposition of like normally taking your kid to a racetrack, a gambling den on.
You know what's funny? My
Christmas
old man
Eve.
used to take me to the racetrack.
Well, no, but
they were horse races,
yeah,
not
exactly.
greyhound.
But still, on Christmas Eve and the whole way they animate the place, it's seedy and it's gross, which should be seen as like a poor parenting move. But in the end, it's kind of a win because Bart knows about the issue. They're trying to make money, and they form this like team, like this alliance of like, hey, we're gonna find a way to save the family.
Saves Christmas for the family. Yeah. Yeah. See, Bart and Homer are definitely like a team. And like, eventually that changes, and Homer and Lisa become the team because she's like the brains and he's like the I don't care about anything.
It
I'll just
depends on
do
the
it.
episode. I think Homer,
Yeah.
he's like the Spider-Man of the Simpsons universe. He teams up well with every other character.
True.
If TV has taught me anything, it's that miracles always happen to poor kids at Christmas. It happened to Tiny Tim, it happened to Charlie Brown, it happened to the Smurfs, and it's gonna happen to us.
And that
Who's
kid
Tiny
from the
Tim?
Christmas Story who just wanted that BB gun, he got it and stuck his tongue to the pole. You know, miracles happen on Christmas.
Does that mean I'm getting a pony, Davan? Are we getting ponies?
You know what? I'll buy you a pony. The United Federation of Podcasts bought me this new laptop.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to
Good
start
fellas.
getting work
We're
on me.
a united brand here. Thanks everybody who's listening.
I thought it meant we were going to go over there and shoot Baker with BB guns, but I guess you're getting him a pony instead.
No, we'll shoot him with a paintball gun. You know, I'm freakishly good at paintball. Francis knows.
Oh, we gotta
I'll
go
get that
paintball
flag every time. I will
could be
get
a
that
fun
flag.
Simpsons podcast activity.
Actually, Francis and me make a crazy paintball.
Yeah, we were actually on the-
You don't want to go out
You're on the
against me
same
and
team
Francis
most of that
paintball.
last paintball match. Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
win.
Okay.
We got
Well,
put
don't
together
really
lots of
paintball, so I'm
times.
sure you guys
If
have
Armageddon ever breaks out, Francis and I will survive. I'll tell you that much.
All right. Well, I'll have to stick close to you two in that case. So I'm with Homer's sentiment. Like, you know, Santa's little helper. It does sound nice, but it doesn't work out well for them.
Okay, I'm gonna get into that all later in my segment later. But
Okay.
Oh no, the baby's crying. I have a baby who's sleeping. I may have to run off.
Oh.
So you know they bet on the race. Homer loses. His horse does not win the race. Oh no, that baby's getting real upset. Oh my, I may have to sneak off here in a minute. But we find these guys.
Can we open our presents now, Dad?
You know the tradition, son. Not till the 8th race.
That father
What
is
a
a
kid.
legend. Oh god. Yeah. So they lose, but they take the dog home, which is like Santa's little helper's bad. He loses bad, but the owner of Santa's little helper is like, "Get out of here!" And Homer sees that. They're like, "Oh well, let's just take the dog home," which is a beautiful move. He's trying his best as a idiot father.
No, but he doesn't want to take him at first. Bart does. And
Bart does.
He's like, no, he's a loser. I don't want to.
Yeah, he's a loser.
I think I cook for that, don't
He's
you?
a Simpson.
That's later. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I
Is
don't
it?
want to ruin your thing.
Oh.
Oh, can we keep him, Dad, please?
But he's a loser. He's pathetic. He's
It's the end of the episode.
a Simpson.
Oh my god.
Interesting how
I may have to
Santa's
run
little
off.
helper, really not much of a character in many. There's a few episodes where he's the center.
He has one big
Really?
episode where it's all about Santa's little
Yeah, but
helper.
that's
A
really
couple
the only,
for sure, but he's definitely. I guess he has more than Snowball. Snowball doesn't really get much love. But it's interesting. Oh, you go.
I want to jog your
Francis.
guys' memory.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know this, but like throughout the Simpsons, they always have Snowball 2. And like,
Snowball 2 is no, we only ever see.
yeah, I was gonna say, do we ever see Snowball 1? Because
No.
there's a
Not in
Sideshow
the
Bob
Almond
Mayer
Shorts?
one where he takes
No.
Snowball 1 and
Oh,
puts
maybe in
fake
the almond
balls.
shorts, maybe.
Yeah.
That'll be my homework assignment. I'll look that up.
Okay, find out if we ever
I'll
know
get back to you
Snowball,
on
but
that.
I'm pretty sure we only ever see Snowball 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think for whatever weird reason they planned from the beginning to have Snowball 2, just as a joke about how cats get hit by cars.
Oh
Which is
man,
kind of
that's a real soft spot for me.
But again, that's relatable. You
Yeah,
what
I
mean?
know. I'm
How-
sorry, Davan.
How like the average family can we make this? It's like you're on your second cat. Sorry, bud.
Man,
Yeah.
second, I wish.
Yeah, this is a podcast of animal lovers, right? And
It
that's
is.
why I'm such a big fan of how this episode ends with the family. The only thing they need to be happy is that dog. That dog is Marge.
Well,
loves
you know
it.
what? That's a real thing. If you can't afford, like Homer was, Bart kind of forced it, but like if you can't afford Christmas for your family, you bring something into your family to share your love and give love to, and all. Like you've done a good job.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, with
Yeah.
Homer sometimes squeaks by as a great parent.
yeah, I mean,
This is one
by
of the
accident.
Aside from
really
all the
touching
financial burdens
moments
that
of The
come with an
Simpsons.
animal, but it's a fantasy, so we'll run with it.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit, like rewatching this episode for this podcast, I shed a little tear at the end. But like
Yeah,
honestly,
it's
things are
very
hitting me a
touching.
lot harder as a parent. My daughter's only 2 years old, so for the last 2 years, things have been hitting me a lot harder than they used to.
Yeah, you'll get
Well,
that,
the
man. I
struggle
get
of
that from my
providing
family.
for
Like
your
parenting
children,
stuff
right?
really hits me
It's
hard.
something any parent can relate, or most parents can relate to, right? It's you want to
Yeah,
do well
man.
for your family. So Homer's struggle in the episode, and then seeing him ultimately triumph and bringing them a
Yep.
happy Christmas is great to see, and it is a really great hook for a first episode. You get comedy, but you also get, like any good sitcom, you get the sentimentality, you get a little bit of a feel good moment.
Yeah.
And again, it plays to like, the demographics at the time. It's 89, 90% of families are at home, lower middle class,
Yeah.
middle class. It's after
Yeah.
dinner, they're sitting down watching their TV, and they get this stuff that's like, a caricature of their own family. And that's probably a huge reason why it was so successful, right?
hmm I skipped a few things here. This was a great scene where Homer comes out with his like crap presents and like knocks
His
over
dog
Flanders'
boy.
presents. He's like, "Well, this one's mine, and this one's mine." And he's
They're
like, "They're
all
all
yours.
yours, Flanders."
Quick shout out to
And
Dan
then-
Castellan. That's another one I might want to make sure I've got it correct. Is Dan Castellaneta?
Castellaneta, yeah.
Castellaneta. Amazing talent.
Oh, he's crazy.
Very, very
It's
talented.
interesting though. And I never really caught on this too. Is like I think Baker earlier you had mentioned something, or one of you guys mentioned about like Flanders being like a little bit naive. So
Oh,
for
he's
yeah. So for somebody who's, I know they want to play him up as being a bit ignorant, but also like for somebody who is,
he's sheltered.
yeah, sheltered, considering himself, a Christian in later episodes, say he works at the soup kitchen and stuff. Obviously, at this point, the character's not that developed, but to constantly have interactions with the Simpsons families who are, in a sense, less fortunate. Yes, they live in the same neighborhood, but
Yeah.
because of the actions of the father, they don't have as much money.
Do we ever
They
find out
don't-
how Flanders gets his money?
I don't know, but the point is, like, you would think that
The Lefty
as
store,
a
of
Christian man
course.
who does charity, I think he would be more sensitive to the plight of, oh, hey, these guys, I just banged into this dude, he doesn't have any presents for his kid. It's a, oop, that one's mine. Oop,
Yeah.
that one's mine. Oop, that one's mine. Like,
Yeah, he should know better.
there's this, like, naivety, like, detachment there,
Yeah.
right?
He thinks everyone's like him.
He thinks everyone has the same good things going on, right?
Yeah. And there's Homer with Parrot on his lap. I skipped over that. And there's
Hey, there we have another
racetrack.
coloration.
There's Blonde Barney. Woo!
Ooh,
And
Blonde
we have,
Barney.
there's Santa's little helper. With such a weird
He is a
looking
handsome
dog.
boy.
He's a handsome boy. And
Not a
then
good
there's
racer.
the end. It's a beautiful moment. No, he's real slow.
What's with
It's a
Abe's
beautiful
little
moment.
tassel? What is that bolo that he's wearing?
That's a bola. He always wears that bola.
Is it always
like when he
colorful?
wants to impress Beatrice, he puts the bola.
Oh yeah, that's right. See,
Yep.
I'm remembering things. There's so much ingrained in your subconscious or things you
Oh,
forget
it's
about.
crazy.
This is going to be great to explore the show again and chat with you guys about it. Fresh set of eyes, some things that I wouldn't notice that I'm sure you guys will pick up on, and vice versa.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. So, you know what? We're moving on to one of what's gonna be our regular segment here.
Is that what I'm going to be called, or is that going to change?
What if your family
that's
don't
it.
like bread?
What if they don't like bread? What if they like memes? With Fat Maddie.
I have a lot of love for
I'd
Fat
steal
Joe.
for memes.
Yeah, man. So, Fat Maddie, why did you pick this particular meme, which I'll bring up here in a second?
Well, I will tell you, and as we go through this, you guys are going to see, and I try not to be fucking a bit of a dick about this, but I'm not super fond of the first couple seasons. There are some great episodes in there, but like the character development is still going on.
Mhm.
The animation's not great. Like I find they really settle into the groove like around season 3. I was having trouble finding a memeable moment that was as picturesque as I would have liked to done. Like normally there's like a really funny phrase that sticks out, or like something that's like the quote of the episode you can really jump on. This didn't really quite have that. But I did not.
For the 90s audience, they love this quote.
Yeah, exactly. But I did not realize that famous Bart Simpson, I'm Bart Simpson, who the hell are you, was said in the first episode ever.
That's crazy.
I had forgotten that. And I saw this. I was like, they did that halfway through the first episode they ever aired. And that has stuck through the series. I mean, they're probably still saying that. I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched
it was such a pop culture.
Yeah, like that.
Like, you
also
get
had
like
that
Bart
just in
Simpson's
their
dolls
pocket.
where you pull the string and you
I'm
let
Bart
go of the string
Simpson.
and he says, "I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?"
And that is probably like the tattoo aside, the singing out of tune in the choir aside. That's probably the raciest thing in this whole episode is that this 10-year-old said that
he's
to
a
a
bad
Not even
boy.
10. He's in grade 4.
He's 10. He's 10, and this is 8. And
yeah, he's 10.
But like that, it just rolls off the tongue. It's not this money. It's just so casual. Hey, I'm saying it's like I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you? I'm Jolly Old Satan. Like it.
Yeah.
But it prevails through the whole series. So that's why I picked it because I'm like,
it was zeitgeist as hell.
This is a piece of like the culture and the ether around the Simpsons being born at this
lightning
moment.
in a bottle, man. They had lightning in a bottle with Bart Simpson. Early Simpsons, Bart Simpson was such a breakout character. He was massive.
Your fears, your anxieties, the roots of your unhappiness.
Right on, Doc. Another successful diagnosis.
Simpsology with Dr. Baker. Baker, what is the philosophy of this episode?
Well, I think that the philosophy
Dr.
of this
Baker
episode,
here, he's an educated man. We lean on Baker.
Bring out my degrees there.
He works at a museum. What else do you want?
I'm a naturalist interpreter at the Museum of Natural History here in Nova Scotia. So I work with animals and educational programs, stuff like that. I study philosophy in university. So yeah, I guess you could call me a doctor. I don't actually have a PhD. Actually, I would say no. Don't call me doctor.
Don't worry about that. Look, don't worry about it.
My Simpsonology fact, the philosophy of the episode, very simple.
That is the line of the episode, isn't it? Oh, jeez.
I don't have a lot of credentials.
I don't have your technical credentials. But look, I wrote a thesis. I wrote a thesis once.
All joking
aside,
I
did. Hey, that's gonna be a book. Just wait. I've also written for a Pokemon and philosophy book. I've been published in a few things actually. So yeah, you can joke all you want. Real fancy academic over here. The philosophy.
So what's the Simpsology, Baker?
Yeah, it is that family matters, folks. Family is important. The most important thing is loving your family.
It's a rare condition this day and age, leaving the good news on the newspaper page. That's Family Matters theme.
Yeah. Also, it's important to remember that family is whoever you care about. It doesn't have to be biological. But in the case of the Simpsons,
you choose your family.
It's the love that Homer has between Marge, and the love that Homer has for his children, and Marge has for her children, and the love that Bart has for his parents, and so forth. We see the comedy, but at the end of the day, we see the heart. We see that when push comes to shove, Bart loves Homer. And we see that when push comes to shove, Homer wants to do right by his family. So that's for the first episode, that, heart matters. Family matters.
Yeah, man. And Homer's a person who was pulled in by his family. Like, before he had kids, he could give a shit about anyone. Like, Homer was like, he's kind of a narcissist.
Teenage Homer is a bit of a burnout.
Yeah, but like he's...
Well, and I mean...
the undeniable allure of the children, He's just like, it's hard to not love your children.
And we see that, that carries through the entire series. I mean, obviously we've discussed like how Homer gets dumber and less like aware.
Yeah. And
some of these characters become more and more outrageous. But at the end of the day, they do still, most episodes have sort of an underlying family value, as exaggerated as it might be. And like this first episode really lays that foundation. Like it's a little more wholesome than what we see in later seasons. It's a little more hokey almost. You know what I mean? It's the jokes.
I wouldn't say hokey.
Well, the jokes aren't as outrageous. It's a little more wholesome. It's a little like whatever.
It's of its time. Like even I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you? Is kind of tame compared to like racy.
To your Family Guys and your Archers and you're like the kind of stuff that's out there now. You know what I mean? But this theme that they laid this foundation in the first episode, this carries through for the whole series.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
There are a
sure.
lot of great family moments in The Simpsons that we'll get to. The Egyptian Museum comes to mind. That's a great Homer Lisa episode. We'll get to that.
Is it just that family is more better than Christmas presents? Sam says. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know
well,
what?
it's true
Fair
because
enough.
Santa's Little Helper is another member of the family that
He's a
they're
member
adding
of
in
the
the
family.
Yeah.
Yep. Well said, Sam. All right. Well, that was Simsology with Baker. What else do I got here?
I'll
I
try to
have some
tighten
more
it up
stuff.
next time.
Oh no, that was very good, Baker. You're doing your
Oh,
fine
thank you.
job.
All right, just take your seat. Just take your seat. I even wrote theme music. There, listen.
Yes.
Ah, for Glavin out.
Frank, make you laugh, make you think, you know,
Yeah.
and then the thing and the
In the
person.
big life. So this is the Glavin with Davan, Professor Davan. So I'm going to talk about the science, and it could even blend into mathematics of The Simpsons in this segment. So it's going to be mathematics tonight. So basically, I'm going to talk about the odds of this Greyhound betting. So if Homer had gone with Barney's advice and bet his $13, which is what Homer had, on whatever it was, number 7, whatever, or
Oh,
whatever
I'll find that out.
Barney's. Yeah, right. Homer would have won $130, which I will
It's
admit,
Whirlwind, isn't it? Whirlwind's the name of the
whirlwind.
It's the name of the dog.
Yep. And
Took
in
you
the
further
early
back
90s, $130 probably would have bought you your Christmas presents, I will admit. But Homer went with the 99 to 1 odds, which, had he won, Homer would have won $1,300.
That would have been a Merry Christmas.
That would have been a Merry
Yeah, in
Christmas.
1989.
In 1989,
Buy a mansion.
$1,300 is money. You think you're rich.
By
if
the
you win
way,
$1,300.
Barney's winning dog was Whirlwind.
Yeah,
Nice name for a
Whirlwind.
race
Yeah.
dog.
Whirlwind.
Good job, Francis. So that was my Glavin with Professor Davan. He could have, he wanted to double down. He didn't feel like $130 was enough, though it probably was in the early 90s or late 80s.
Well, I mean, maybe not for your whole family, but compared to what he was.
You know what? It probably was. You could buy an action figure for your kid for $9 in
Well, probably less than that. But
I'm just gonna say now. I see somebody in the comments calling us nerds. I'll have you know that I
What?
was a bass player for the Pretenders. So
Oh, it's Whirlwind.
Murph. Oh no,
Post it
no,
up though. That's
no. Oh, he did. Murphy, you called us nerds.
But that's a Simpsons call out too.
yeah, it's a Simpsons reference. That's why I was referencing the
Sam says
Dean
World Mind's
episode.
the nerd. Homer is a god, literally. Yeah, Homer is one of the great characters in the history of television, for sure.
Certainly is. Really, I would say all the members of the Simpsons family, minus Maggie, because she's not.
Yeah.
They're
Except
all,
when she,
Maggie, but she can't talk.
perhaps does something with Mr. Burns. But we won't.
No, but they're all internationally recognizable at a glance. Like,
Yeah,
no
that
matter
poster
what.
behind you guys is a good example of just how expansive the Simpsons cast is and how many of those characters are so beloved.
Oh yeah.
So we were actually looking at that
Mo,
before we got
love
on this.
Wiggum.
Yeah.
And like
There's
some
so
of the
many
characters
classics.
who like legit have like 2 words in one episode
Or on that
like, it's
poster, but
crazy.
then we're like,
we're
how
gonna
come
get
this?
to one of my favorite characters who has very few lines. I don't even want to spoil it, but I wonder if any of the
No,
fans.
don't spoil it.
I wonder if any of the fans
He's
know
got a
who I'm
question.
alluding to.
Ultra fan Sam. No.
Uh,
Why are you laughing? It's not going to be a good question.
I don't even know. So we have one more segment for tonight, and then we'll wrap this up because we're running long tonight.
Yeah, you got to get to your baby, man. You got to look after
No,
the youngins.
she settled. She stopped crying.
No, she stopped crying. It's all good.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe I am. Maybe
your
you did. Or
problem,
maybe it's
Lana.
not. And I'm not and you didn't. But you didn't hear this, that, or the other thing. I ain't
Who's
saying
been
nothing.
talking with Davy Tight Lips? Okay, so this is a game.
Go suck a lemon.
This is can we save your life? Go suck a lemon. How's your mother? Who says I have a mother?
What do I tell the doctor? Tell him to suck a lemon.
So this is a game between Francis and Baker here.
Oh,
All right, this is the quote game. Who's been talking? So the first one to pipe up with who said this line gets the point.
Are we just like going like whoever shouts it out first? Or
Yep.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
you ready, Baker? All right.
Yeah.
Go out on a Tuesday? Who am I, Charlie Sheen?
So they're not from this episode.
No.
Oh, just random. Okay.
Random.
Is that
Oh,
newer?
see,
That's
if it's
fucked.
random,
Flanders?
that's a tough one.
That's obscure.
Go out on Tuesday. Who am I, Charlie Sheen?
Marge?
I'll guess Homer.
Franny got it. No, he beat you, Marge.
It's a Marge.
All right.
Okay.
So Franny's 1 point. All right, next one.
That's fine. I'm happy for you, Franny.
Next
Oh,
one.
so you guys can't see my game.
Trust me, Bart. It is better to walk. What the fuck? I can't even read my own writing. Oh, okay. Trust me, Bart. It is better to walk in on both of your parents than just one of them.
Millhouse?
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay, 1 point.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely he walked in on his dad.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Millhouse's dad.
Okay, I will say Kurt
another classic
and
character.
Luann,
Oh,
when
Kurt and Leonard.
they decided to jump on those real characters, got really funny. Like,
Oh, did
over
they
time,
ever?
yeah.
Kurt
But
especially.
they do that all the time where characters, they're nothing background characters, and then they just choose to expand them, and they do such a good job of fleshing them out and making them realistic and very funny a lot of times.
So there's 5 questions here, so someone will definitely.
Okay, so one from one.
Yeah. So there's only one thing to do in a moment like this. Strut.
Bart.
Yep. All right. 2 to 1, Franny.
I mean, you're in the same room as him, so you're the advantage.
No.
We're not cheating. He's got his little booklet. He's in the 18th century.
Okay,
He can't see this shit. He can't see this shit. Trust me. All right.
We're having fun.
Boy, I tell you, they only come out at night, or in this case, day.
Wiggum.
Oh, Franny beat you.
Or in this case,
boy,
daytime.
I missed my
Actually,
boy.
But we'll do the last one anyway. Franny won.
Shows how much of a fan I am. Yeah, let's for fun. Let's do it.
No, Franny's a crazy savant when it comes to this stuff. Another day, another box of stolen pens.
Another box of stolen panties?
No, Franny got it. It's over.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well done,
Franny dominated that game. No,
Hey,
don't
I
be
never
ashamed,
claimed to
Franny.
be an expert at games.
No, don't be ashamed.
Yeah, but like you have the Simpsology stuff. I'm the quotes man.
He's the quote guy.
Yeah, of course. That's the beauty of the podcast is we all have our strengths that we bring to the table. Just like the Simpsons, they all have their foibles.
Well, look, Sam was breaking in on these too. Sam. We had a voice Sam.
Oh yeah, good for
Yeah,
Sam.
Millhouse
Yes,
was
Nelson is a great character.
Sam just like yelling at the screen, like, "What kind of hosts are these?"
Oh, Sam yells at the screen all the time. If we ignore Sam too long, he's like, "Check the chat, motherfuckers." Yeah, but Sam's a super fan. We appreciate Sam.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
does that mean we have 3 viewers or those? No, we got Sam and Worldmind. Who else?
Yeah, it's Sam and Murphy and someone else right now.
Okay, cool.
We don't know who. Look, honestly, podcast. No one listens to podcast lives. We'll get like hundreds of views after this, but like, no one listens to podcast lives. I don't listen to live.
The cool thing about this podcast is that we're breaking new ground. There's really, there's not a lot of Simpsons podcasts, right?
I don't think maybe there is.
There's
I don't know.
I refuse.
If there are, I don't know.
Honestly, Baker, there probably is. There probably is. Like,
I refuse to believe nobody was
the only
okay.
I have a Star Trek podcast, and there's like 4,000 of those. So then I tried to narrow down where I could actually have a podcast that people might find a niche, and that was my X-Men animated series podcast.
The X-Men one's pretty good.
Cool about the Simpsons is even if you listen,
we do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the
animated
animated
series. Fans.
Watch a couple like 10-15 minute clips of it. You guys have good banter.
Look, we're gonna wrap this up here, fellas. Yeah. Look, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can contact us at KBBBL podcast at gmail.com. What's that next B for? Bargain. We're a bargain.
It is for bargain.
You should probably listen to this podcast because it's such a bargain.
Yeah,
and
it is a good podcast. You
can find the audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. I'll hook that up tomorrow. It'll happen.
So you can't find it now.
No, like tomorrow you can find that shit everywhere. And we are a proud member of the United Federation of Podcasts. But you know what? I'm going to hype our other shows here, fellas, for a second. So here's our next episode. You can catch us next week at this same time, starting time, for...
Oh, yes.
Let me throw it out. Let me get rid of that banner. All right, yeah.
Art the Genius.
Art the Genius. Now, this episode is crazy. You don't want to miss that. Tune in next week because
You look at the screen, it's fucking
What have you
crazy.
Baker may
seen?
have talked down a little bit about the first couple of seasons of The Simpsons, but the first couple
No,
seasons
that
of The
was me.
Simpsons are
That was
legit.
me. I was the one.
Oh, that was
talking.
you?
Yeah, I was like, I could.
They're actually pretty crazy.
There's some good. I won't deny there's some good shit
The
there, but like,
genius.
listen. I'm a sucker for production value. I'm a sucker for
yeah,
even
their
though
production values.
they're like it's. I find it difficult to watch, but I'm just bougie. That's all it is.
That's fair. You bougie bastard.
The writing's
All
good.
right, that's fine. Listen to my movie podcast, the Hold Up a Movie podcast that I do with World Mind Murphy, who has been piping in tonight. He's building us a brand, Murphy. And we're doing big things over here at the United Federation of Podcasts. Also, check out my I have a lot of podcasts, so check out my X-Men podcast. I do. We're gonna interview the actress who played Storm here in a couple weeks. Look, we do big things over at the X-Rated, the X-Men, the Animated Review Show. Look, let me tell you, if you like the X-Men, you should be listening to our show. And this is also Graphic Histories podcast in the United Federation here. Andre interviews a ton of cool people. He interviewed just last week the co-writer of the classic horror movie Night of the Living Dead.
Ooh.
Wow. Oh, listen to that episode, Baker. Like, you love the Graphic Histories podcast. He interviews comic people, movie people. He gets into it, man. That's a great podcast. Okay. Also, listen to my cousin Dave and Jeff over at and Jaemeel, cousin from another mother, Super Mater Brothers podcast. They do they review reality shows and things like that. They break it down.
Supposed to.
All right,
nice.
Don't worry about it. I wasn't worrying about the rhymes too much. Anyway, and also check out Live Long and Podcast for my podcast Locutors of Trek falls under these days.
I love that name.
Locutors of Trek. Oh, look,
Live Long and Podcast.
Oh, Live Long and Podcast is good too. Name. They do all the episode reviews. Live Long and Podcast, we break down a little bit more. We get into the scientific stuff of Star Trek. It's Dave.
Yeah, it's Dave.
So we get into big words. Dave likes big words.
Yeah, if you want a scientific journal.
Yeah, if you want a scientific breakdown of Star Trek, tune into the Locutors of Trek. Yeah. And we also do over here in the Ops Division, we do Star Trek Radio Theater, which is really fun. And then there's also Trivial Debates. I'm hosting that next week. Or no, this Sunday maybe even. And it's
you
a
really
good
do have a loaded schedule. My goodness.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you.
I thought you had 3. It's like,
I'm a
10.
I'm a busy man. And the newest member of the United Federation of Podcasts, the Hellbound podcast with Alex Blackburn and Michael Chan. Check that out.
See, that's the one I want to guest on. I want to hop
me
on
too.
that
Me and Andre both. Literally everyone wants to guest on that show. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to work on that.
Well, the horror movies. They're pretty cool.
But it's tied to the Alex runs the Hellbound Horror Festival over there in England. So
excellent. Very cool.
Yeah. So that's good stuff. So that's basically all my plugs. I think we're done here for tonight, fellas.
Okay, folks.
So
if anyone's
any final thoughts, fellas?
I just want to plug my Instagram. If anyone wants to see me post goofy pictures of animals working at the museum, it's _thunder_perfect.
I love those pictures of animals, quite frankly.
Let the man say his handle.
So _thunder_perfect_mind_. And it's not, I don't think I have a perfect mind. It's just an old Gnostic poem that I like because I'm a nerd. I have a pretty imperfect mind, as Francis beating me at the.
Oh, you have a beautiful mind, Baker.
Oh, thank you.
You think humble bastard.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Take that. I mean it. That's legit.
See, that's the Christmas gift that I needed was
there
Davan's
you go. Well, we're a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
This is our freaking Christmas special. Let me throw that banner up again. Christmas special.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
I think as this goes on, just like The Simpsons, it'll get a little more professional. The wheels will get a little less squeaky.
Shorter.
It was a good start. Well, first episode has to be
No, this is a great first episode. We're doing The Simpsons proud. The Simpsons does culture proud. Catch you all next week.
Peace.
See you, folks.
Yeah, there we go.
KBBBL Podcast. Where the extra B is for BYOBB.